evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in Fayette County that gets Channel 3. Tonight we have an exciting program. We are about to start the bicentennial, the 200th birthday of Connersville, Indiana. It's only going to happen once in a lifetime. It won't happen for 50 years. We got a long wait. Again, and I'm excited to tell you that I have two guests here tonight that have labored and worked on this thing for more than 3 years. The first on my right, be your left, will be Mike Sparks. He is the general chairman for the whole thing. He has put his entire life on hold and done this thing and just worked at it and worked at it, even grew a beard and a mustache. But he's well groomed tonight. And Mike, we're glad to have you.
Glad to be here, Mayor.
Okay. On the other side of Mike sits a beautiful young lady who has theatrical experience. And many of you might know her as Lynette Eklund at Crazy Acres. That's where you'd probably see her. Very beautiful young lady, and she has accepted the responsibility to be the parade chairman. And believe me, I've done a lot of parades in my day. That's a big job. I've been visiting with her about it, and she's excited. And this is probably going to be the biggest parade that Connersville ever has seen. So tonight, we're going to kick off by, has everybody seen this paper? Isn't that colorful? It'll tell you the whole story if you open it up. Very little advertising in it, but all the information of what's going to happen in the 10 days of celebration, hour by hour on the back side. Every home needs one of these in their home, and besides that, it's a beautiful keepsake to keep for your children and grandchildren. And as close as we are, on Friday and Saturday of this week, we'll be having the Soapbox Derby. First, I forget in years and years, and I was just told we have 76 people registered, young people, to participate in this Soapbox Derby. Another program that really you want to keep for posterity and remember when your kids were little and they participated. So tonight, without wasting any time, we're going to jump into this thing, and Mike, I want you to kick off and tell us what the bicentennial means to you, and just briefly go wherever you want to go.
Okay, well, thanks, Mayor. The bicentennial celebration is a celebration that is not of the bicentennial committee. It's not about a person. It's not even about a group. It's about our community. And it is for everybody. It's to celebrate history. It's to celebrate the present, and it's even to have a very hopeful look toward the future. We do have folks that we want to recognize. Obviously, John Connor, the person who is responsible for the platting of our original town, and many people in between. We know we had great industrialists. We had a very strong automotive history through the earlier part of the 1900s. Some of the world-class collectible cars were built right here in Connersville, Indiana. We want to celebrate all those wonderful parts of our history, but we also want to celebrate the right now, because for all those folks living, we want to point out all those wonderful things that are reasons why we live in this community and why we should be proud of it. And then we think maybe the most lasting benefit of the bicentennial is what's to come. And we believe that is a bright future. And one thing we know for certain, Connersville's future is going to be determined by the direction we, Connersville's residents, take it. And we hope that the bicentennial celebration this summer will be the springboard that propels us into much greater things in the future.
That's great testimony, and I know that's been your goal from day one. Lynette, you are the parade chairman. You've been attending all the meetings. Let's hear what you got to say about this huge parade on the 6th of July.
I am really excited about this parade. As it's been coming along and growing, it's turned into a parade that's definitely not one that has ever been in this town before. Even people that saw the sesquicentennial, and I've heard a lot of people talking about that parade, this one's even different from that. It is going to be a massive parade. It's going to be different than the fair. The county fair parade will still be happening 3 weeks later, and we'll still have our traditions, but we are asking people not to super soak the guests that we come, so this one will not be our super soaker parade. That'll be our own game that we play a few weeks later. There are some people working frantically all over this town in garages and places all over building floats that I have gotten the applications for there's massive floats being built around this town that nobody's seen, and I don't want to be the one to let the cat out of the bag of what they are, but they're all very unique, and there's some impressive effort being put forth. And what's exciting to me, being an artist, is I have always said that Connersville has a lot of talent in this town, but so many people are afraid to show it. And all of a sudden, it's starting to come out. You start to see it in the soapbox derby, and with what's going on with these floats and the entries and the variety of things that are being shown in this parade, there is talent coming out all over that people have claimed is not here, but we're finding out it is.
We've already had the Elders Luncheon, a great success. We had the opening of the buried box up at Vistion at the library. We've had the unveiling and dedication of the 4-H building, which was a big part of the bicentennial. Now we're ready to do the soapbox on June the 28th, a week from Friday, a week from tomorrow. We'll be kicking off, and there's a dignitaries luncheon that'll be held up at the park. But what's more important than that is when we kick off down at the Canal House. I want you to speak a little bit about that.
Okay, on opening day or opening evening, that would be June the 28th, we will be having actually several very exciting things through the afternoon and evening, one of which is our opening ceremonies, and that ceremony will be on the steps of the Canal House. Everybody knows where the Canal House is in Connersville, so we would hope that everybody would be down there. We couldn't think of a more fitting place to have that because our Canal House goes clear back to the days of the canal in the 1840s. Connersville was the headquarters for the Whitewater Canal Association, and that beautiful building that we have down there today was the headquarters. A lot of people maybe aren't aware of that canal was quite lengthy, but we were the headquarters. So that's where we felt that it would be appropriate to have the opening ceremonies. That'll be at 6 p.m. on Friday, June the 28th. And that ceremony will last approximately an hour, and then we go straight into other activities through that evening, including entertainment with the Vandals. We actually have entertainment starting even before the opening ceremonies. The first official entertainment we have as part of the bicentennial is actually a youth event, Silly Safari. That's an organization that comes down, will be here from Indianapolis. And that is a young kids event involving some animals and things that'll take place on the city parking lot. So the opening ceremonies, the Vandals, probably the premier event of that evening will be the laser light show, and that seems to be the thing that's the big buzz around the community already. I can tell you one thing for certain: Connersville has never seen a downtown laser light show, so we will be breaking new ground. It's appropriate that come during the bicentennial celebration, and it, like those other events that I just mentioned, are free, so anybody can come.
Free. Yeah. I want to go back to the opening ceremony. I've been privy to been told a little bit about it. Don't miss it, because it's not just going to be a bunch of speeches. It's going to be a great historic experience to see what takes place. I'm not going to tell you about it because they're keeping it a secret, but it's well planned, and you're going to enjoy being down there for that opening ceremony. And I know there's people coming at least from Chicago, Green Bay, Milwaukee. People are coming from all over to see the laser light show. I had calls at home this weekend. They'll say, "Oh, what time will the laser light show be?" And I said, "Well, I think it's planned to be after dark, so as long as you can be in town by dark." But the town's going to be crowded. We've had to do a bunch of wiring. We've done, we reworked that parking lot, new sidewalks. It's beautiful down there, and don't miss the laser light show. Also, the music over at the Presbyterian Church. We got to mention that that'll be going on for someone that wants to go into the church. That music will be taking place. Then we go into Saturday, the 29th. That's the Early Settlers Day. And can you give me a rundown on that? I know that's kind of Donna Schroeder's day, is not?
It is. Donna Schroeder, the president of Historic Connersville Incorporated, is what we refer to as day owner or coordinator for that day. And there are just several really unique and we think quite interesting activities that will be taking place that day. Another first for Connersville will be a visit by a group from Ohio called the Northwest Long Hunters Association. This is a group that will set up in the park. They dress in authentic period dress from late 1700s to early 1800s. They are not reenactors. They call themselves portrayers of that period of life. So what they will be doing from adult clear down through the kids that are with them, they will be showing what early pioneer life would have been like in terms of how they cooked, how they dressed, how they existed in tents and so on. The campfire, everything they do is a very carefully planned event surrounding that period of our early days of existence here in Connersville, early 1800s. So that's just one of them. Probably one of the things that we're really excited about, and we can't talk about all these events, but on the early afternoon of Saturday, we are having an authentic pioneer wedding. And what that means is we're not talking about a reenactment of a pioneer wedding. A couple that are getting married for real have agreed to be the couple that will participate in this event. Everybody's familiar with our Longwood Bridge, our beautiful bridge that's just been repainted and spruced up there in Roberts Park, and they are getting married in the east end of that bridge early afternoon. And they will have their invited guests that will be kind of the inner circle, but the whole community is invited to be there to witness this event and be part of it. And by authentic, we mean it will be proper dress, and it will be as authentic as it can be made to be for that period of time.
Now, isn't that after that wedding, anybody that's been married 50 years can renew their vows there as well? So we would really like to have, you know,
but you have to have 50 years.
50 years of bragging rights,
I don't
yes.
quite make it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, here I've lived here my whole life, and I don't qualify.
You don't qualify.
To renew. Maybe that's a good thing. I'm not quite that old. But it's going to be a very exciting time. We do have a lot of folks in this community that have been married 50 years, and we would invite all of them to come and take part in another truly Connersville unique bicentennial event.
And on that day, too, we got to remember we got the Little Detroit Grand Prix going on downtown,
yes.
And we've got an exhibit in the Roberts Building. Heirloom of clothing will be in the Roberts Building. Something going on for almost every interest. We're going to have the archaeological, I have a hard time with that, dig, and that'll be going on if that interests you. So it's an exciting day. Horseshoe tournament, Brothers of the Brush, Whiskers exhibition, just all kinds of stuff. And then we turn over, and I'm trying to find the next day, which will be June 30. And you know, we don't want anybody to think that there's tons of this stuff on these pages. We're just kind of hitting some highlights. But you want to look at this in this paper, and you want to look at it wherever you can find it and see the things that interest you, and be down there. One thing that's interesting, they're going to have a flag raising ceremony every day for 10 days, and there's different people going to be raising the flag, kind of a patriotic thing. So look for that and try to hit one or two of those flag raisings. I told Donna Scott the other day, she said, we want you to be at the first one. I said, it's my intention to make every one of them. So I think that's an important thing. On the 30th, what's our highlights on the 30th, Mike? Can you just hit some of the highlights here?
Well, the 30th of June, which is Sunday, is our Church and Community Day. And we felt like that was a very appropriate day to turn over to our local ministerial association. They're the ones that have put much of the planning behind this day's activities. And to be honest, when this planning first started 3 years ago, we thought this might be one of our down days. Well, when you look at the itinerary for that day, that is far from the case. We're having a non-denominational community-wide service up at the amphitheater that morning, and we've tried to do it late enough so as many of the local churches as possible can still hold their church service and be a part of this one as well. We're hoping that everybody will come together. This is an opportunity for Connersville to truly come together in one, hopefully record-setting service. Again, non-denominational. It's just a time for us to get together and have the fellowship and worship as a community. And in a few groups we've had the discussion, Connersville needs this right now, and we feel like this is the proper thing to do. And that's kind of the, outside of flag raising, that's kind of our flagship kickoff event for the day. And that'll last an hour or a little longer. It will involve a community choir. We're very proud. This could perhaps be the largest community choir that's been seen in this community, made up of our own people. So it'd be fun to come and watch folks that you know. There will be bagpipes at this service, and we think that's going to make it quite unique. And there are many other things going on through that afternoon. We're having a chicken dinner. Everybody,
yeah, that's important. Now, you gotta
everybody knows of the famous St. Gabriel's chicken dinners in this area. That's always the big hit at the fair. And you know, it wouldn't have been a community day without having St. Gabriel's and their chicken. And there isn't a cost for that, but it's very nominal. And we're hoping that everybody will come.
Do you know that cost? I didn't have it on my paper.
I believe it is $6.
Okay.
But that's for a dinner, not just chicken.
Right, you get everything. I tell you, you can't go anyplace else. It'd be 16.
No.
Maybe 24.
And most other places aren't going to have that chicken.
Now that's in the pavilion right after the church service, 12:30 till 3. Most of the churches, I've been contacted by a lot of the ministers, are setting their services about a half hour early that day so they can get out in time. It's very important that we all come together to worship. And if you leave your church and you're a little late getting into the amphitheater for that, don't worry about it. Come anyway, because it's important that you just show up and get the part that you do get and get there for the chicken. All kinds of other things going on that day. But then the highlight of the evening is the Easters in the amphitheater.
Yes.
And the Easters are a gospel group that's known all over the country, very famous. Jeff and Sherry Easter will be here to have gospel music in that amphitheater that night. That will wind down that evening, and very, very important. So get there early, bring you a cushion or a back seat, and enjoy that. Let's see if we can move on. Did I miss something?
Can I interrupt you,
Sure.
Mayor, just for a moment? The Easter's concert, I think it's important to point out, this is the bicentennial and the City of Connersville's gift to this community. This is a world-class entertainment, and it is absolutely free. There is no cost. I've been emailed several times by people, what is the charge to come to the Easter's concert? Let me say it once again, folks. This is our gift to this community. We hope everybody will show up. It is absolutely free.
And, you know, there's a big stage being built down in front of the amphitheater, so this isn't going to be any little rinky-dink thing. This is going to be well done with lights and sound, and it's really going to be nice. We only got an hour, and we only got 17 minutes, and we're only into 3 days. Monday, July the 1st, that is when we're going to have our flag-raising ceremony at the Miller Center. Highlight a little bit for me on July 1st there.
Well, July 1st is the day that we have many of our arts and artisans will be setting up different things in the Miller building. I've been promised it's going to be a gigantic quilt show in the Miller building, the John Miller building. And I've seen the arrangement of how this is going to be displayed as far as the layout and the planning of this. It's going to be phenomenal. The amount of quilts. You know, not only are quilts something that obviously have been used in the past, but they have become art. And certainly that's going to be part of that. Many other things going on that day in and around the Miller building.
Okay, let's go over to the 2nd of July quickly.
Now, is Artist and Artisans Day? I don't even have the schedule memorized. There's too many things. But that's also the Robert E. Wise Festival. Am I right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robert E. Wise. I just feel like, I'm sorry. This is the film part of me coming out. He is such an amazing part of this city's history, and he's from here. We know the Robert E. Wise Auditorium was named after him, but so many people don't realize just how many major films that he did. And they're going to be doing a film festival that day and showing 4 of his works. And people that have been into the auditorium, they see the posters there for The Sound of Music and West Side Story, and they know about those, but a lot of people don't realize that he also worked on The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is one of my favorite films, and then also Star Trek. I mean, he covered decades of film, And this is bragging rights for Connersville. This gentleman is from here. And so that is going to be, he's going to be recognized. He's going to be, they're going to be showing his films at the Roberts Building all afternoon and into the evening. So,
and the other thing about that is some people are probably thinking, well, I've already seen those movies. But the point is, yes, you've seen The Sound of Music, or you've seen The Day the Earth Stood Still, or West Side Story, or even the Star Trek movie. When's the last time you saw those on a big screen? And once again, gift from the Bicentennial, all of these are free. Come and go as you please that day. Remember, now the Roberts Building is air conditioned, so it can serve as a cool down station, and you can watch those movies maybe for the first time in many years on the big screen, or maybe for the first time ever if you're a younger person.
Old-time baseball game, 7 to 9 that night down at the Babe Ruth Complex. Let's go to July 2nd here because we got to get going. Flag raising 8 a.m. at the courthouse that day. You want to highlight this when we get to parade day, we'll push on her hard. You go ahead.
July 2nd is what we designate as Youth Day, but if you've been keeping track, we've got a lot of things for youth all through the whole celebration. But July 2nd is designated as Youth Are Our Future Day. And those activities, you really need one of the flyers because those activities are scattered literally from one end of town to the other during that day. Some of the early activities start out down at the John Connor Nature Preserve. Kids that perhaps have never had an opportunity to fish are going to have that opportunity. And then we move up into town. Some of our activities through the middle part of the day are at the city parking lot. Later on during the day, again, youth-oriented activities will move up to the park. This is a day where literally we hope every kid in Connersville over a fairly wide age group would have the opportunity. Of course, mom and dad are going to have to help with that to get them to these events. But this is a day where we we're cultivating future leaders of Connersville with this day.
One thing on that day, you get to go down the Whitewater Valley Railroad from 10 to 4, and you can climb into a locomotive or ride in or go look through a caboose. And oh my gosh, all the different things. It's so exciting when you read this.
Yeah, there's open games in the afternoon and just all sorts of things.
Old-time games, and this robotics team is going to have a demonstration. That's really, and the scavenger hunt. They asked me if they could hide something in my office, and I said, well, I hide in there. You can't hide in there. But
yeah, you can't give that away.
No, can't give that away.
And then there's a concert that night that's...
Yep.
Okay, that concert, let's talk about that, Lynette.
There's several bands going to be there. One of the ones that I know is very popular with the youth is Kramus, and they'll be performing that night. Correct me if I've got my days wrong. But I know that they're really popular with the youth. And then also, is it J.A. Johnson?
I don't think it's that day, but we do have, there is, for all of us, it's really hard to keep track of all this. By the way, folks, there are something like 160 events and activities listed. So if you seem to feel like we get a little off track sometimes, that's most stuff won't fit in my brain pan. So that's why everybody needs a flyer. But one of the things that is on Youth Day is a group that I'm sure every kid is familiar with, Radio Disney. Will be here on Youth Day. They will be performing in a free concert downtown on the city parking lot. You know, we use that word free a lot, and that's intentionally. We want the Bicentennial to be for everybody. I can't believe there's a kid anywhere that's not familiar with the name Disney. And Radio Disney will be here that day to put on both a musical and entertainment event on stage, city parking lot, absolutely free.
Okay, that's going to be a great thing. Pool party, Connersville High School students, 7 to 10, Roberts Pool. Then we go into the 3rd, Wednesday, July the 3rd. The flag raising that day is at the courthouse. Civil War firing practice in the Longwood Bridge area. Tell me about that Memory Lane Antique Show. I know what it is, but I want you to explain to our people.
Okay, this is another day where our activities are scattered to various parts of town. The Memory Lane Antique Show will be, this is probably for older youth and adults, although some kids will enjoy this as well. This will be on the parking lot area to the west of the Canal House. And this is where folks will come in and set up under, I think, one large tent, and will be have on display, and I think some items for sale, some of their premier antiques. And we might even see some things that were manufactured in Connersville, because Connersville does have a rich history of furniture and various other items that were manufactured here. So that will be downtown, and it will be open throughout the day. Anybody can come and browse. You don't have to do anything other than walk through and enjoy. I think there will be things there to purchase in the way of antiques if you're so inclined. But that's just one part of that day. One of the key events, we believe, this is actually 20s through 60s Day that we're talking about on Wednesday, and it will be on the city parking lot. Our own public library, a lot of folks may not be aware of how fortunate we are. We have one of the nicest public libraries for a town our size anywhere, and those folks took on the responsibility of setting up down in the city parking lot, and they're going to portray and talk about and illustrate different decades of history through interaction with our youth through various means. And virtually the entire library staff has bought into this planning and the carrying out of this day. So we know it's going to be an exciting time.
Got cemetery tour that day. We got a flower show. We got youth rocket building workshop, children's theater. You got to check this, because there's something in here that's going to interest you and say, darn, I didn't want to miss it.
Let me mention that rocket building workshop, they're actually having 2 days of that and then the rocket launch. And I'm not going to say days because I'll screw that up too. But the information is available to headquarters or in those schedules. What that is for the youth, and I think it's $5, and that actually, you come to the workshops, you build the rockets with training from people that have been building rockets through the elementary schools for years, or building them for elementary kids through high school kids, and then having a rocket launch, and all those are getting fired off then in one day, and then the kids get to keep the rockets when they're done.
And now the big band in the evening, 8 to 10. Tell me about that, Mike.
Let's see.
That's the Tommy Doherty big band.
The Tommy, we refer to it as Tommy D because people have referred to that name about a half a dozen different pronunciations.
Yeah.
It is and I think people from youth through even our senior citizens will enjoy this evening, because this is going to recall the big band era, complete even with a dance floor that will be set up in front of our big stage. And by the way, the mayor wasn't kidding when he talked about a big professional stage. I forget, it's something between 36 and 40 feet long. And this is what you see on TV at professional events. On that night, there will be a dance floor set up in front of it. And remember, all this is set up right in front of the amphitheater. So folks will be encouraged to go up on stage and actually dance as part of this big band era. I've been told that these folks will come in World War II period dress, and they play different types of music, but obviously the big band era, the heyday, was back in that era. So I think for many folks that are watching this right now, recalling an earlier time in their lives, this could turn out to be a very special evening.
And for those of you who don't have a dance partner, we will have Dima dance partners down there for you.
A dime, wow.
Dima dancers, yes.
That's good. I hope my back's better by then so I can dance. Then we go into July 4th. If there's anybody here who doesn't know what July 4th is, that's the red, white, and blue day. That's the big day. We're going to have all kinds of stuff, Civil War, cannon firing and practice, and obstacle course for children. I think one of the big things is the placement of the 10,000 commemorative veterans flags. Tell us about that, Mike, quickly. I hope I don't put you on a spot, because I expect you to know 164 things. And I'm giving you a test tonight on this stuff.
You know, I taught school for 29 years, so if I forget, I'll just wing it.
Okay.
And I probably will forget. But anyway, we are so proud of the July 4th plans, because, you know, think about it a minute, folks. We're going to celebrate Connersville's 200th birthday through the bicentennial, but on July 4th we get to celebrate our nation's birthday as well. So we have several things that we just think are going to be outstanding. The 10,000 flags, I got a feeling there's folks out there thinking, well, why 10,000 flags? Well, here's why. we were talking about how could we visually show how important the contribution is that Connersville and Fayette County have made to our nation's development, given the fact that we really know that freedom in our country never has been free. There's always been a cost. And the significance of the 10,000 flags is simply this, and here's why I think you're going to want to be in the park that day to witness this. Each major period of conflict in our nation's history has involved large numbers of young men and women that have volunteered from Fayette County and Connersville to go off to be part of us maintaining that freedom. So the significance of the flags are simply this. We will have the War of 1812 shown visually. So many flags to represent so many people that, and from each major period of conflict, we will have flags that depict that. Now, just to show you the contribution that Connersville and Fayette County have made, there were over 7,000 that went off to that war, World War II, just from Connersville and Fayette County alone. So when you think about the importance of celebrating our freedom, think about that, folks. Over 7,000 from Fayette County and Connersville, and that was repeated over and over again across our country. So yes, we think July 4th is a singularly important day to pause and celebrate the freedoms that we have. And there are many other things, but we're going to run out of time if we don't get it moving.
But we are going to plug on July 4th. When it gets dark, we are going to have the most spectacular fireworks you have ever seen. Everybody's been geared for it. It's ready to go. The Lord has blessed us with a lot of rain. I hope He keeps it up so we can have a nice wet woods to dump all this stuff in. We're going to have, you just won't believe, it's going to be double what any fireworks you've ever seen. So you want to be in Roberts Park for that fireworks on July 4th when it begins to turn dark. We've just hit the highlights of that day.
And Mayor, we want to remember that that's the day that our local WIFE radio has also very graciously taken on the responsibility of hosting a free concert that evening just before the fireworks. So folks, you can come spend the day, watch a free concert with several Nashville acts that will lead up straight to the fireworks. It's all free. You can come and sit in there in the auditorium and on the hillside, and then you'll be all set for. The mayor's not exaggerating, by the way. We know this will be the biggest fireworks display in Connersville's history because we know how much money is being spent. We've never even come close to this in the past. So there's no question, folks. These are not just semantics. This is going to happen. If you enjoy fireworks, this is the place to be.
This infantry band, too, is going to be something you ought to plug, too, Mike, at 11 to 12 on that day. That's a great thing that we're having here. And, there's just so many things. So let's move over to July 5, Transportation Day. And let's hit a few highlights there. The flag raising then will be at the fairgrounds at Roberts Park. Can you hit some highlights for me on that day?
July the 5th was chosen as Transportation Day because we felt like we needed to recognize Connersville's history associated with transportation. And it goes clear back to the days when, John Connor, we think, did most of his traveling in 1808 when he first came to this valley. He probably was mostly on foot and maybe pack animals with him. And then there are obviously the horses and the buggies. Connersville has a great history of manufacturing of Rex buggies and McFarland carriages, and we're fortunate enough to have a few of those representatives of those manufactured vehicles still with us. The canal history from the 1840s, some people are aware, many are not. The first canal boat reached Connersville in 1845 was called the Patriot. That introduced a brief but very important segment of our history, canal boat transportation. Right on the heels of that was the railroad, the steam engines that got to Connersville. In fact, a general historic saying back in that time has been, or from that time, men would have gone off to war, Civil War, on the canal, perhaps. They came back on the railroad. because the railroad came into being during that time, and then it was automotive. So the whole idea of Transportation Day is to recall all those segments. One of the things that is a must attend up in the park during that day, we think we will have the biggest vehicle show that has been seen in this town in many, many years, maybe ever. And we're pretty confident we're going to have the largest collection of Connersville-made cars back in this town that has been seen here since back in the days when we actually manufactured them. And that'll be a new thing to a lot of youth. As a former teacher in an automotive program, I can tell you that a lot of youth came into my class each year not knowing that Connersville once produced cars. So we're going to reintroduce that to generations of people on that day.
Well, there's going to be all kinds of transportation, horses and all kinds of stuff. Then we get over to the 6th. This is Saturday the 6th, 2013. We're calling it Parade Day. Now we're going to press on little Annette over there. And there's airplane rides that day at the Connersville Airport. We're going to be doing all kinds of spectacular things, but the big thing that day is that parade starts at 11 o'clock. They're telling me here on this piece of paper it'll be over by 1. It may not be over till 2 or 3, the way it looks, the way it's going. We may have to run it on up through Cambridge and back. But I want you to hit this parade and hit it hard, Lynette.
Okay, well, we have had to enlarge the route from anything that people around here are used to in order to make sure that there's enough viewing access to this parade because it is so massive. So that primarily it'll be going down Grand until it's under the overpass there at the library, and then jogging over to Central and going down Central so that it can go across the north end of the courthouse parking lot and back up Western. Now, we will have an announcer. As a matter of fact, I just got a commitment from Larry Myers, and I think it's safe to say Sam Harvey. Larry's already planning on hitting up Sam Harvey, the sports, the voice of sports for Spartan basketball, will be announcing the parade in the downtown area off of the speakers. But all the way down Grand and all the way up on the east side of Western is shaded viewing, so it should be a very comfortable view for just about anybody that wants to watch this parade. And it is physically massive. We are arranging it. We're building a show. We're not just going to send stuff down the route. We are building a show. And so there are the floats, there's musical entries, there's equestrians, there's automotive history from back at the beginning of cars all the way up to contemporary. There's military units coming in. We will have the military and the veteran units represented very well. And we are designing this parade so that you will have things to see at the beginning. Since I run Crazy Acres and I'm also taking care of this parade, that means Crazy Acres will be one of the last entries. And so I'm making sure that there's something to see at the very end of this parade as well as at the beginning of this parade. So there's something all the way through it to entertain people.
That when you sit and watch this parade, I think you're going to see something that is just so diversified that it's not like any parade where you just see the same thing over and over and over, fire trucks and ambulances. It's going to really be something. I have a little insight on people that are building floats and things that are happening, and with music, and everybody's excited. Now there's lots of other things going on that same day. There's bluegrass. That's the day we have the bluegrass, and that's going to be from 6 to 10 in the Roberts Park Amphitheater. Lots of people like bluegrass stuff. What you need to do is just keep watching, because the things you're interested in, there's so many things that you need to be checking it out so that you can get in on this stuff. We'll go over then to Sunday, July 7th, Reunion Day. That is the last day of the bicentennial, and it's so planned to be a reunion. And I've been told by Jackie Church how many tents are going to be in that park. How many tents are going to be in there for that reunion day?
You have stumped me, Mayor, because I don't remember exactly. I can tell you our original estimate got blown away months ago. People kept calling, wanting more tents and more tents. I'm going to say it's in excess of 40, and some of those tents are quite large. The ones of us that remember the really big fair some years gone by where everything was covered within that midway area between the amphitheater and the pavilion, I think you're going to see that on Reunion Day, only it will be a sea of tents. And Jackie Church is our day owner for that day, and she's done a fantastic job with a very difficult task, because this is combining groups from anywhere. This could be a particular group of graduates from one of our county or city schools. It could be a factory group from days gone by, or even some that are still in operation. It's any and all reunion groups from anywhere, plus anybody that wants to just walk in. One of the things we want to stress is, yes, there are many tents that are reserved by various clubs, organizations, groups, and they will fill that center area of the park. But this is not something that's only for them. This is a day, again, as really all of our days are, this is open to everybody. If you come up there, I guarantee you're going to see people that you know that are involved with this group or that group, and even these groups that have reserved space, they're not going to stay in their own group exclusively. The idea is to come and intermingle, and it is truly a community event open to everybody. And there will be vendors up there, by the way, along the side. In fact, same area that we normally see vendors for carnivals and things. So there's just no reason not to come and be a part of this day. It will be a day that'll be a little bit bittersweet. The mayor mentioned this will be the last official day of our 10-day celebration. So we're going to celebrate just as vigorously as any of the other days, but also it'll be a time of reflection of all the great things that will have occurred and we will have seen by that point. And there'll probably be a little bit of regret that it is winding down that evening. But what a great thing it's going to be. The ones of us that have been involved in this planning process for some time, we have no reservations at this point. We know what's coming, and the only thing we're doing at this point is still working to try to get the word out. The planning has been done, and Reunion Day and each one of these days is going to be a singular event in our community's history.
Okay, now I have to say, when we get ready to close the thing, the closing ceremony will be at 6 o'clock. And then you've got this great big popular band coming in. I get a lot of calls about that. And I'm trying to find it on here.
Neil McCoy.
Neil McCoy. Neil McCoy. I'm not a music person. I love all kinds of music, but I didn't know who Neil McCoy was. But boy, everybody else does it because they tell me every day. You dwell on Neil McCoy a little bit. It must be you must know all about that, Lynette.
Well, not so much. But having lived in Texas for a few years, the country and western scene definitely I got my education on country and western music, and Neil McCoy is huge, and the tickets are selling well. There is reserved seats for part of it, so you can be sure and get close seating. But you need to go ahead and buy those tickets at the headquarters now, and not try to wait till at the door, or you may not get those prime seats. And then there's open grandstand seating as well as seating on the lawn. So there's a variety of price ranges so that anybody can afford this concert. But if you really want those front seats, you need to be buying your tickets now and not wait.
And we do take credit cards. You can buy those tickets down at the headquarters.
Absolutely, yes.
You can buy tickets at the gate that night, and we will take credit card. And the price of that is all different prices, is that?
For if you want the reserved seating up front, in other words, if you want to be as close as the law allows, given modern standards for setbacks from stage and those kind of requirements, those are $30. And when we were doing the research for a Neil McCoy concert, again, this is a case where obviously this is our most costly event to host, so we had to have a charge. But I can tell you our research has shown that medium grade tickets at other Neil McCoy concerts are usually $55 and up. We're selling premium seating for $30. The amphitheater seating is $15. The grass seating on the hillside, which will still provide a very acceptable viewing and listening position, I believe those are $9. So we're confident you could not go anywhere and see a Neil McCoy concert for these kinds of figures.
Going back to that reunion day, I didn't hear much about food. And, you know, I always like to know about food. Do you have something up your sleeve I don't know about?
Well, I don't know. Let me look. Not other than the fact that there is going to be food every day at all these events.
Vendors and,
some people are bringing, some of these folks that have reserved those tents will probably be bringing things of their own. But our events downtown, our events up at the park, we have a vendor's chairperson, and that person has been working diligently now for some time. We will have vendors. If you just want to come and be a part of the fun, and just like going to the fair, if you want to have some food and some soft drinks and so on, lemon shake-ups are my favorite. And if you want those kinds of things, they will be there as well.
As well as art vendors. I know that there's several
Yes.
craft and art vendors that will be setting
Yes.
up in the park as well throughout the bicentennial. So,
Yeah, there'll be no lack of eating something,
No.
and
No.
you won't get thirsty.
no.
Well, you know, overall, it's just been a great thing. And, you know, we've just hit the highlights tonight. Just buzzed through here because we spent 44 minutes just going through the highlights and talking. You know, a lot goes into this. This committee, I used to say there's 60 people working on this. I think there's 110 working on it now. And they just keep working. They're meeting in Roberts Park tonight while we're down here putting the final details together. It takes a lot to do this. You know, you got to think we had to go through the state. Our stages, the stage at the amphitheater, the stage downtown, are inspected by the state. They're approved. These are going to be professional stages. This isn't any just where you get up on a farm wagon. You want to come down to these programs. All of these things that are being planned had to be carefully planned. And there's so much behind the scene that I never realized was going to take place. We've just had to jump through hoops and loops so that everything's safe, everything is legal, and everything will coordinate and yet let public safety vehicles run through town. There's going to be thousands of people here. So there's just so much behind the scenes, and I do appreciate all those people who have worked with us to get those things done. The Soapbox Derby on this Friday, tomorrow, and Saturday, and Sunday is the first time in, and he gave me
61 years.
61 years since there's been a Soapbox Derby in Connersville. We have 76 entrants that are qualified to run in this thing. These kids have worked hard with their dads, their uncles, their aunts, their cousins to build these cars to come out and do this. Councilman Fran and John have arranged, they're going to actually televise some of this. I don't know if it's live or if it's recorded and played. It'll be replayed later. So you'll see some of this. Many of these things we've talked about tonight will be done. Some of them will be done live. Some of them will be replayed later. Because we want the people in the nursing home or have to be in a hospital. Or maybe we'll send this off to Texas or here and there. I've already had requests for things to be sent after the thing's over. They want to see it because they can't come or they're in a nursing home maybe in California or Texas. So it's really been well planned. It's been worked on. We've got the numbers up there, 825-3245. Nobody's called us. We've been so busy rattling on, and we're going to continue to rattle on for the next few minutes here. We went through real fast.
Well, may I rattle about another thing?
I want you to. I want you to.
John Connor will be making appearances, and I think it's important for everyone to know that John Connor is going to be here for every day of the bicentennial. He will be making random appearances. No one knows where they're. Well, okay, I and John know where he will be and when. Now, for our youth and teens, there's a game with that, and John Connor has limited edition coins that have been made up, little wooden coins. And when you find him, he will, if he still has coins left during that particular time, you can collect these limited edition coins. And at the end of the bicentennial celebration, at the closing ceremonies, the young person with the most coins will then be rewarded a medal for having discovered John Connor the most times. Now, during those days, John Connor will be changing, because at the beginning of our history, when John Connor came, he was more of a groundbreaking pioneersman, and so he will be dressed different than he will be towards the end of it, the bicentennial celebration, when he was getting into his political career. Mrs. John Connor will be seen with him, and so...
What's her name?
Mrs. John Connor.
Oh,
And so throughout the 10 days, if you see him more than once, you will not necessarily hear the same part of Connersville's history from him each time you see him. He will be explaining over the course of the days more about his contribution to Connersville and how he grew with the town. So it's your history education as well as a game of discovering John Connor and the history.
okay. And then you get a prize if you
Yes.
discover him
Yes.
more and more and more.
Yes.
Okay.
So the hunt is on.
Okay, the hunt is on for John Connor. Mike?
I'd like to go back to the soapbox just a minute. Tomorrow, Friday, is setup day for the Soapbox Derby down on Ziegler Road in the afternoon. The actual racing is on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So, but if you travel Ziegler Road, you just need to understand that it will be closed down starting mid-afternoon tomorrow. We need that time. Our Soapbox committee needs that time in order to set up for the race. Saturday and Sunday is when you must get down there for at least part of it. There's going to be probably a minimum of 8 hours of actual racing on Saturday. We know that just because we've got so many cars entered and so many of our youth. And so Saturday is going to be a gigantic day. The reason I know it's the first time in 61 years is because the last time, Mayor, that there was a soapbox event in Connersville, I wasn't even born. I am 61, but it happened just before I was born. So even though I've lived here my entire life, I've never seen a soapbox derby in Connersville. So we're all going to enjoy it together. I can tell you I've been down near the finish line on each day of qualifications. You cannot imagine the thrill and the look on those youth's face the first time they come down that hill. No matter what happens race weekend, which is coming up this weekend, I don't believe any of those kids are ever going to forget the first time they went down the hill on Ziegler Road in a soapbox car, where they did it in Connersville, Indiana. They may grow up and move to any corner of this world, but Connersville, Indiana is what provided that thrill for them during the Soapbox Derby as part of the bicentennial. We're extremely proud of our Soapbox Committee and the excellent job they've done putting this event together. Folks, you just need to come and experience this. You don't have to stay all day. Another free event, come and go when you need to, but it's a great opportunity to support the youth, support the parents of. I've seen grandparents down there. At our last qualification session here a couple weeks ago, a gentleman in his 80s came down and wanted to sit at the finish line for a while. He told me he was part of a soapbox event in 1953 in another community. That would have been after Connersville ceased to have them. And there was no question for that gentleman that afternoon. It was a nice day. He was sitting there reliving a much earlier point of his life, and very fondly so. So this is a must attend.
If you're going to go to this to attend to watch, where should you go to park, and tell me how you should do that.
Well, anybody coming in to watch wants to come in on the Gray Road entrance, out near the high school. Come in from that end of Ziegler Road. There will be parking at the church, the church there at the top of the hill. And we think because we're expecting a large crowd, there will probably also be parking. We will have people there to control it along on Ziegler Road if necessary. But the point is, you can come, you can park for free, you can watch the event for free. If you need to leave during the day, you will be able to do that. But it's just something that you're going to get a thrill out of just seeing these kids go down.
And you really should bring your own lawn chair.
Yes.
Bring your own little water jug if
Yes.
you want to, because it may be warm. But there will be some bleachers, I'm told. I think we plan to move some bleachers down there.
There will be a limited number of bleachers, but you're absolutely right. We're expecting a large crowd. It would be very prudent to bring a folding lawn chair or something of that type.
Okay.
Or a blanket if you
You
would
want to
like
lay down
someone
on the
for it.
ground and sunbathe and take a nap.
The other thing I would like to point out, we're extremely proud in our bicentennial organization of our folks that have been running our headquarters.
Oh, yes, we must dwell on that a little bit.
Down
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Central
yeah.
Avenue. If there's anybody left in several communities around us that don't know where our headquarters is, 416 North Central Avenue, very historic building directly across from the city parking lot. And one of the things I wanted to mention, just by way of pointing out the success that we have enjoyed because of the support of our community. At the very beginning, 3 years ago, the idea was born within the Bicentennial Committee to offer a bicentennial history book, a biography. This is the first time in Fayette County's history where any family could put their family biography. You didn't have to own a factory or some major enterprise in order to have your information in there. So this book was done. The publisher thought that we would be very fortunate if we sold 500 copies. We are now topping 1,000 copies in this community, and it's still selling virtually daily down at headquarters. The money from this book has gone to support your celebration, just as everything else we have done. The other thing I wanted to mention, that was the history book. We are also taking orders, and this is the only way it will be sold, pre-orders, prepaid. The forms are down at headquarters and some other locations around town. We are offering what we're calling the celebration book. Same hardbound cover, same quality as this. In fact, it's the same publisher. The ones of you that are familiar with the Sesquicentennial book of 1963 know it to be one of the best reference books we have. This book is a little bit patterned after that, but the Sesquicentennial book has maybe 18 pages or so of pictures. The rest of it's advertising, and it's now a who's who of what was going on and what companies were in 1963. This book will have over 80 pictures of information concerning the actual celebration that we're seeing right now and over the next 2 weeks. So just wanted to make people aware, we don't sell trinkets at the headquarters. It all is historic-minded memorabilia, and if you haven't seen it, you need to experience it.
I got to get in here before we close. 7 deadly words on the 6th and 7th, right?
Yes.
And talk about that just a minute.
Well, you know, I wasn't in on the actual, I wasn't present during the filming, but we all know there was a movie made in our town a year or so ago, and its premiere showing will be on those nights. And that will be at our local theater, and we're quite proud of the fact that this will be the first showing of this anywhere, and it is a movie that was set in Connersville, so it's one more feather in our cap, one more unique feature for Connersville.
It's shown 2 times on the 6th and 7th. Check your times. You can buy tickets up at the theater. It's going to be a great thing to go and see that. There is so much going on, and we tried to cover so much so fast tonight. Number one, I want to say I really appreciate the committee that you put together and what you've been able to do. Someday we'll talk about this as history, and it's just going to be a great thing to look back on, to think we had a part and we got to live through it, and then in 50 years somebody else will do it. You're going to bury a box, right, with a lot of this memorabilia. Tell real quickly, because we only got about a minute or two.
Yeah, there will be a bicentennial time capsule and all kinds of items from this event and this period of time in Connersville's history will be included in that. There will be a short ceremony that will be time forthcoming this fall after our main celebration is over. So one more thing, that'll be one of our wind-up activities.
Okay, well, we're down to 1 minute, and tonight it's been a great privilege to run over this, to talk about the bicentennial. If you have questions, and you can call down at headquarters. There's a headquarters number, and it is 403-1444. Okay. Or you can call my office and we'll give you that number. We'll try to help you. We have complete lists. Look through this that I've been showing you tonight. If there's something there that you want to see, make sure you get it. Next week we will be having our sports program, or next month. We're looking forward to that. Mr. Schommel will be with you. We're going to have some surprises for you. You're going to like that program. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for being with us every night, and good night.